Hello folks, the main headline feature for patch 11.10 Undermined is the dynamic and revolutionary improvements to vehicular experiences, or D.R.I.V.E for short. This is essentially a kind of dynamic ground mount that will allow us to travel along the ground at speeds up to and sometimes in excess of our skyriding mount speed. Travelling at skyriding speeds at ground level feels a lot faster than it does in the air, especially when you hit something. Fortunately, the new zone, Undermine, is specifically designed for high-speed ground mounts with a fairly extensive network of wide roads along with some narrower off-road alleys. One of the consequences of this approach is that Undermine is going to be a no-fly zone, very likely permanently so. So this system is going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting to make up for that loss. Similar to dragon riding, when it launched, you access the new system through a brand new dedicated mount, the G99 Breakneck. This is acquired via a short 3-quest long quest line, which, while not part of the main campaign, is highlighted using the new very important quest symbol. So don't worry, you won't miss it when you get to the zone. This questline will introduce you to the basics of the new system, ending with the award of that juicy new mount. The mount itself works in different ways to other mounts. Once earned, it appears as a zone-wide action button on your UI, similar to the special buttons we used to get from a Draenor garrison and outposts. This means that the vehicle is not currently in our mount journal, and emphasises that it is only available for the Undermined zone. This is not a mount that you'll be able to summon elsewhere. Similar to Skyriding, once you summon the mount, you get a special vehicle bar with 4 abilities. Boost, which allows you to get a short-lived burst of speed. Your horn, which is purely cosmetic. Start job, something that I will cover in a moment. And eject, which is basically your dismount key. And don't worry, you don't go flying up in the air when you hit that eject button. When you get in the mount and hit W, it starts off slowly, but it very quickly gains speed, reaching levels similar to baseline skywriding, enough that it can become quite a bit of a handful to use, especially when cornering. Fortunately, we do have some help to corner at speed. Hitting the spacebar will activate drifting, and this will allow you to corner at speed by giving you a lot more control over your movement. Drifting also allows you to accumulate turbo power, which you can then spend using the boost button to get a burst of speed, similar to Skyriding's surge forward. Just don't try to make a sharp turn in boost. If drifting doesn't generate enough turbo power for you, you can also get more by driving through little shining items that you'll encounter on the road. The mount slows down quite quickly if you either hit the back key or if you just lift off the forward key, so don't worry, you do get quite a lot of control over your speed. While your new vehicle is great for zipping around the zone, that's not all you can do with it. Just as we had dragon riding races, we now also get road races. These are pretty familiar. You just zip around a course running through the rings, avoiding obstacles, picking up boost items, and desperately trying not to crash through the sharp corners. And yes, there are also world quests for doing those races. The other main gameplay is shipping and handling. Hit your start job button and it will trigger a new mode that is very similar to the old taxi game. A direction arrow will appear above you to guide you to a location where a mini quest-like objective will trigger. These objectives are quite varied. Some are standard kill-or-collect quests, which will require you to dismount to do them, but others may ask you to stay in the vehicle, perhaps picking up a package and then going off and delivering it. After doing 10 of these objectives, you're directed back to the car's garage, where you get to take a mandatory 30-second rest break before heading out again. Or, if you prefer, you can just hit end job at that point to drop off. Currently, completing these objectives merely gives you a bunch of Valor Stones and Resonance Crystals, which isn't super exciting. Hopefully, the rewards for these is something that Blizzard do plan to beef up. But there is also a weekly quest to complete 20 of those shipping and handling objectives, and I suspect that this will likely become one of the ways that we can get more interesting rewards, and probably also a weekly half spark. Every hour on the half hour, a zone-wide event called Surge Pricing will spawn. This will give you 10 minutes to do more of those shipping and handling events to contribute to a zone-wide objective bar. This will give you extra reward chests, and then finally we'll get some gold and crests from it. But what about how you customize your vehicle? Well, there are 5 colours for it in total. We start off with the default neutral, but you'll also be able to collect red, green, blue and yellow. We're also going to get the option of customizing our horn, with choices based in the Goblin cartels: Blackwater, Venture Co, Wildwater and Steam Widow. But the good news is it's not just cosmetic changes we get. Changing your engine will change how the mount accelerates, but also change its top speed. So you'll be able to get options of getting more acceleration at the cost of that top speed, or vice versa. We'll also be able to change our wheels in order to change the handling, either by increasing grip, coming at the cost of slowing down as we corner, or decreasing our grip to get much faster turns. We're also able to change the turbo, which will increase the top speed of our boost upwards in 2 steps, although that does come at the cost of needing more of that precious turbo power that we collect in order to use it. Now, when we get the mount, as you might expect, we start out with just a very basic set of customizations, with the upgrades being earned from doing various types of content around the zone. Now, at the time I made this video, not all of those customizations have been discovered, but we do know that quite a few of them will come from the Renown track, so hopefully they won't be too hard to get our hands on. Now, the big question though is, of course, is this a system that is fun? On the PTR, this system has been through a couple of iterations, mainly to address some bugs and feedback from the community. Overall, I found the system to be a bit of a challenge to get used to at first. It could at times feel just a bit too fast, and the controls initially were a little bit awkward. This though did all change when I gave some of the races a go. I quickly found that the challenge of the races was quite addictive, and this did help me to get used to the system more quickly. So much so that I would recommend doing a few of the races once you get your car as a way to get used to it. Once I did that, I have been finding it to be a lot of fun, and for the most part, I find myself using it in preference to my ground mount in order to get from A to B. Now, when we first got the car in the PTR, all of the upgrades were unlocked, and I was able to freely customize the car to suit me, and this did help with getting used to it a lot. Since the PTR has been updated, we now have an initial default set of customizations, and honestly, they aren't quite as good in terms of feel. That's not to say the car is bad now. It's still very good, but you're likely going to want to prioritize getting some of the customizations quite quickly in order to improve it. And just as with filling out the original dragon riding talent tree, those improvements do make a big difference to the overall experience. Gameplay-wise, the shipping and handling system is essentially just some standard World of Warcraft quest mechanics with a new coat of paint, albeit with a few unique mechanics added on top. But despite that, the integration into the mount system and the unique framing nevertheless serves to make them feel quite fresh and new, and I had a lot of fun zipping around Undermine doing a mixture of troubleshooting and package delivery missions. This feature at the time of recording is still a bit of a work in progress on the PTR, with the dev team releasing bug fixes and some major mechanical improvements, with even more promise to come during the testing period. Overall though, it is on a very positive trajectory, and by the time it gets to live, I do expect that this system will be very popular with most open world enjoyers, and potentially can also attract some folks who don't normally do a lot of open world stuff to give it a go. That said, if you are someone who can be prone to motion sickness from video games, this could potentially be an issue for you with this system. Thankfully, we do have our ground mounts as an alternative to get around. And what about the future of this system beyond 11.10? The use of a zone action button to summon the cat strongly suggests to me that this version is intended to be for Undermine only. And that does actually kinda make some sense. Unlike dragon riding, where one could always envisage being able to soar over the Eastern Kingdoms or Kalimdor, something that did eventually become a reality, part of the reason that the drive system works so well is the road network that exists in Undermine. It is possible to go off-road in Undermine, and that does work pretty well too. But even there, the environment is clearly designed to be able to accommodate the car. When I think about trying to zip through Hallerfall or Ashkahet in my car, it's very hard to visualize how that could work in a smooth way. I do think that it could be possible to reuse this system with ground mounts to create a faster ground movement system, but would we ever put it to much use in more traditional zones where we have skyriding? The prevalence of flying in World of Warcraft is potentially the main issue. Yes, getting a dynamic ground mount system more widely could enhance the game, but would it ever see enough use to justify the engineering and design effort in all of those other zones? Right now, I'm not so sure, but I do suspect Blizzard will be looking at player feedback very closely in order to help them try to answer this very question. What this all means is that you should make a point to enjoy this feature while it lasts. We're probably not going to see it in the remaining major patches for the War Within, and if it does return in the future, it will very likely be in a somewhat different form. And that's the new drive system in a nutshell. But what do you think? Have you tried it in the PTR? Do you fancy the idea of racing from Ironforge to Booty Bay in a car? Or would you just stick to flying? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm currently still in my final push to reach 1,000 subscribers, which is a very important milestone for any new YouTube channel. If you would like to support me and have not subscribed already, then please do hit that button right now. Helping me get over the line would mean the world to me and will help me to continue to produce content just like this. And if you've enjoyed this video, then do hit that like icon to let me and YouTube know that I'm in the right track. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.